guys, what is up? This is Ben Falcon's Media Corner and welcome back to another movie review, aka After I Saw. And today I'm going to be talking about the 2021 legal drama known as The Mauritanian. Now, The Mauritanian, this is directed by Kevin Macdonald, director of The Last King of Scotland, and this basically tells the true story of this man named Mohamedou Salahi, played by Tahar Rahim. And basically, he got accused of being one of the terrorists he was one of the terrorists who recruited these terrorists to do the deadliest attacks that shocked America as well as the entire world, which is of course the devastating 9/11 attacks that happened on September 11, 2001, and which of course, you know, three planes crashed into the targets, well, two, which is the World Trade Center in New York, and then the third plane crashed in the Pentagon, and while the fourth plane tried to reach its target, but of course it crashed into a field. And so basically for Mohamedou Salahi, he gets accused for doing this act by recruiting these terrorists to do what they were told to do. And basically he gets imprisonment in this detention prison known as Guantanamo Bay in Cuba, where he spends his 14 years in this detention center. And we basically see that he doesn't get any charges for any of these accusations that he's facing until this defense attorney named Nancy Hollander, played by Jodie Foster, decides to bring his name into justice, because for him, he's trying to fight his own freedom as well as for justice, since he got accused for this accusation that he is facing. So that's pretty much the story of The Mauritanian. So for going into The Mauritanian, I didn't even know much about the whole true story, although I was familiar about 9/11, which that's the day that shocked the world and America, which I didn't even know much about the whole event that happened, because back then I was born in 2001 in the summer. Then the next month this devastating event happened, and I was only a baby when that happened. But I have seen a few films that took place during that event, which mostly involve the actual disaster that happened in New York, which I've seen, like World Trade Center with Nicolas Cage and Michael Pena, and directed by Oliver Stone, which is about, you know, two officers who try to save people in the World Trade Center building, but they end up getting trapped under the rubble after these Twin Towers collapsed after they got struck by the planes. And for the other one I seen was 1993, directed by Paul Greengrass, which is about the fourth plane that got hijacked during that devastating event, that devastating day, which was supposed to reach its fourth target by the terrorists, but then the passengers tried to overtake the plane, but of course it crashed in the field. And so I haven't seen much other 9/11 films that do not involve plane, the actual disaster, like if you see a plane being hijacked by the terrorists and then they crash into the target or anything. Because there's been a few other films involve really investigation and mysteries, which this film plays it out as an investigation and mystery film, where it's basically about this man who is accused of being one of the terrorists who recruited these terrorists to do what they were supposed to be doing, like hijack the planes and crash to their target, mostly in America. But this one's really about a freedom and justice story about these about this man who, like I said, gets accused, and then we see his 14 years in prison, and then we see him dealing with a law while he's in his own cell, and then being interviewed and all that. For the performance here by Tahar Rahim as Mohamedou Salahi, he was very good in this movie, as we see him building up a lot of emotions in this film, which he's really he plays out this movie so well for his emotions in the film that he faces, from being traumatized, scared, as well as being almost a bit delusional because of what he's facing in the film, because there's a few scenes in the film where it does cut back to his past, which the direction for those scenes by Kevin Macdonald, the aspect ratio goes from widescreen to square, which I thought they did that in a really good way, because if it was in widescreen it would be a bit of a bother, which for those scenes it didn't even bother me. I thought they were really well directed for the most part. And as for the performances, you got Jodie Foster in the film, two-time Oscar winner Jodie Foster, who plays this defense attorney, Nancy Hollander. She was very good in this movie, and of course she won a Golden Globe for her performance this year for Best Supporting Actress, which I think she deserved. She was really good in this movie, which we do see a build up to the story when when we see her like dealing with this whole case that she's like investigating, as well as figuring out like what's going on. She was very good in those, and for whatever she's in, if it's either a good or like if it's either a really great film or just a movie that's really good, she can just pull it off really well. Like she's always very good at acting here, and she delivered a really great performance here in this movie. However, for its storytelling, I thought it was a bit slow for a few scenes in the film, which it does try to take its time, which that was a bit of an issue with, but I still appreciated what the story was showing on screen about, you know, a man who's being accused, and then he has no charges for what he's being accused for, and then we see, you know, a woman who's an attorney dealing with it and like trying to figure out what's going on, as well as it cuts back to a soldier who's also an attorney as well, and we see him like digging deep to finding more evidence during this investigation as well. In which for some scenes they were good. There were some good scenes, and then there were some scenes that were really intense and almost brutal, because there was a few scenes like with Tahar Rahim's character in the film, which we do see him getting a few flashbacks, which again, the direction for those scenes were really good for the different aspect ratio of this film. And there were some brutal moments with him in the film, which for its story, I found it extremely brutal. I almost found it brutal, even though it was almost unsettling, because there's a few scenes where we think he's getting tortured, which for that scene in the movie, it was almost like I just didn't want to look like what was going on, but nonetheless, the story, it was still good, despite it just felt a bit too slow. It just felt slow for the most part, but I still had a really good time for like what was going on screen for its for the whole true story that I was watching on screen. So The Mauritanian, this was a good movie, despite, like I said, the story being slow, but there was some good scene. There was some really good positives, I would say, for this movie, mainly the two main performances that I really liked in this movie. Tahar Rahim, which he's really damn good in this movie, and Jodie Foster, which he's of course very good as usual. And all the other acting as well, like Benedict Cumberbatch and Shailene Woodley, they were really good as well for the most part. And there was some other acting moments I thought they were solid enough. And there was some really dark, unsettling, brutal moments in this film, which it's not like really brutal, like there's a lot of like blood or anything in this film. It's just a really dark storytelling of like what's going on, because the story it's just really intense as well, about how a man felt when he was like kept in like a detention center of sorts, and then what he's facing throughout his entire life is really shocking. But it's still, though, a good story. Just again, it just felt slow, and there was some good directions, and there was a really good direction as well, mainly for its aspect ratio, which I enjoyed and I really liked in this movie. But if you're a fan of these kind of movies about like mystery investigation movies that involve a historical event that's happened in history, like 9/11 or anything like that, I think this is a recommendation for me. If you're a fan of these kind of movies, or if you're a fan of any of these actors like Jodie Foster or Benedict Cumberbatch or anything like that, this could be one for you to check out if you'd like to see. So overall, I'm gonna give The Mauritanian a B. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching for my review of The Mauritanian, and it came out on it was already released in February in the US, but it came out in the UK on April. It came out a couple days ago on Amazon Prime, so I watched it today on Amazon Prime. And again, let me know what did you think of this film. Did you like this, or did you not really care for this one? So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and stay tuned for my next AK After a Saw review. And this has been Falcon's Media Corner signing off.